All right, well, we got a few questions, Jim, naturally, about Cody Rhodes here this week, a very popular topic. The world of Cody Rhodes continues to fascinate wrestling fans much more than the actual matches and in-ring work of Cody Rhodes does. This first one, sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Adrian in Melbourne. I would love to hear Jim's take on a statement made by Cody Rhodes in a recent interview. Cody stated that it is a wrestling tradition that before a championship match in which the title will change hands, the champion will put the bag that is used to carry the belt in the challenger's gym bag. As a result, when the new champion gets back to the locker room with their newly acquired belt, the bag will be in their possession. Has Jim ever witnessed this occur? Moreover, did any of the champions that Jim managed ever follow this tradition? You okay over there?
I'm not. I'm not good. It's a tradition. It's a tradition handed down from Frank Gotch to George Hackenschmidt and on to Joe Stecker. And that's why that prick Dano O'Mahony got beat up, because he didn't follow the tradition.
That's a nice little interesting twist there.
I have never heard of that in my life until the very moment that you just spoke those words in asking that question, Brian. Now, for one thing, it may be a tradition in AEW, or maybe it's a tradition of the last 5 years of whatever Cody's been around somebody with a belt, or I don't.
Yeah, in the days when you don't have to hide your gym bag.
Well, besides that, the part of the question about did I ever, or any of the people I managed that were champions ever follow that tradition, the answer is no, because we never had a bag to carry the belt in besides our gym bags. Another thing that's happened with the proliferation of these belts and the replica belts and the fans all having a belt and every wrestler getting replicas of the belts they've won in promotion so they can put them on the wall or whatever. When I managed in my career at one point or another, the NWA World Tag Team Champions twice, the WWF World Heavyweight Champion once, the WWF World Tag Team Champions, was that twice? I'm trying to remember. The NWA World Heavyweight Champion, when he was Dan Severn.
As always, the U.S. tag titles get the shaft, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I was about to say, and also regionally, U.S. Tag Team Champions, World Class Tag Team Champions, Mid-South Tag Team Champions. Not one of those sets of belts that at the time that I managed the people that held them had a fucking bag. You know those bags they got now when they give out with the replica belts? It's like a velour or a crushed velvet sack with a drawstring that you put the belt in. That's how they deliver them and when you buy them, right? We didn't have those. Are you out of your fucking mind? When we had the NWA World Tag Team title belts, they were at least 15 years old. You got the belts and you stuck them in your fucking bag with your sweaty, shit-stained underwear and your fucking dirty socks and all the other shit you had that smelled, because that leather, after they'd been worn every night in the ring and hit over the head with people and got blood on them and sweat, they stunk just as bad as everything else. And the wrestlers stuck the belts in their bag. Flair got the Halliburton to carry the NWA belt in, because obviously it was one of the most valuable ones in the business, and he wanted something that it wouldn't get dinged up, and also that he could keep an eye on and that would lock so people couldn't get in it. And that's when I managed the Midnight Express, they didn't carry the belts. I did. I've mentioned this. That's why my right shoulder is about 2 inches lower than my left shoulder, because I had both of whatever tag belts that we had in my one carry-on bag that I was carrying in my right arm, and I had my suit bag over my left shoulder, and it gave me a permanent lean after all those years. But no, I've never heard of the bag that the belt is carried in being placed in the gym bag of the new champion before the... No, that's something they've come up with since they've got bags now, I guess.
Was there anything done? Were there any responsibilities on the guy dropping the belt? Was there anything you had to do to the guy getting the belt? Were there any traditions?
Yeah, show up and do the job. That's it. And I will say that there's one thing, it would ruffle feathers in those days if you showed up to the building in most places. In Memphis, not really, because it was a weekly territory and they had to switch all their titles a lot. And sometimes it was on the spur of the moment. But in most places, especially if you were an upper tier champion, NWA World Tag, major U.S. title in a territory, if you weren't told beforehand when you were going to drop it by the booker, okay, we're going to do it Saturday in Detroit, or we're going to do it Friday in the Omni, or whatever. If you weren't told beforehand and allowed to offer your input on the finish, that was an insult. I remember, and still, in 1990, when we were the U.S. Tag Team Champions, and we showed up, that was after Flair had quit as booker, and I had quit the creative team, and I think either Ole was just coming in, or it was just Herd was whatever, but it was in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. We were going to work with the Steiners.
Summer of 1990.
Yes. Well, it was probably Mayish, June-ish, somewhere like that. I think. Maybe it was April.
I actually thought it was later in the summer when the Steiners won the U.S. Tag titles, but maybe I'm wrong.
Damn, hold on.
I'm going with August. September.
Can you hear me? Okay,
I can hear
well,
you.
Maybe you know this better than I do. I leaned over to get the Midnight Express book.
You may know better than me. You lived it.
Well, but at the same time, I've tried to put a lot of that year out of my...
That's right.
You know what? You may be right.
And it was in New Jersey, so I'm sure you really wanted to put it out of your mind.
Yep. As a matter of fact, you were right. It was August 24th, not April 24th. East Rutherford, New Jersey, $111,000 gate. But we got there to the building that night, and they just gave us the finish like it was a normal fucking night and a normal fucking match. Yeah, and you'll drop the belts to the Steiners. And I got fucking hot because I'm like, again, we're being disrespected. You don't do that. You tell the fucking champions when they're going to be dropping the belt and who to before it happens, and that's one of the reasons why at one point Flair walked out once in the same building, not the same show, but wasn't it in the Meadowlands when they said you're going to drop the belt to Sting, and he said no, I'm not.
That was during a blizzard. So not only was there no crowd there, no one could get out of there safely. Yeah, because there was snow everywhere. It was a disaster. But Flair
was at one point.
Flair won the title from Sting at the Meadowlands, actually. That's right.
That's right. Anyway, nevertheless, so that's where, again, after that, I made the call to Herd and said, hey, just buy us out. We've got a year and a half left on our contracts or whatever. No, we didn't have a 2-year then. I said, we've got more than 6 months. Just buy us out. Give us half what you owe us. We'll all just go home. We don't want to be here anymore. Well, I don't want to start that precedent. And then months later, he gave Jimmy Garvin $180,000 to go away.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yes. That's why Garvin disappeared. He had a 2-year contract for $150,000 a year, and most of it left on the time to serve, right? So they gave him $180,000 to buy it out so that he could just go away.